When I was studying architecture, everything seemed to be all about the clean grid. Having a clean grid in your project was the top go-to thing. And, 5 or 7 meters in the step size with vertical structural members right on the overlap between grid axes, the typical system on which, for instance, Le Corbusier's domino house was kind of built upon. I remember thinking that a simple grid is so predictable in terms of spaces that the design process becomes so streamlined, you don't get that exploration of the unknown anymore. But then, what if we take actually two systems and just kind of slap them together, forcing them to kind of exist, cramming them into the same space, so they would exist in that space? What happens there? Well, this is where Mr. Peter Eisenman kicks in the door and starts screaming, superimposition, superimposition. And I gotta warn you, trying to read his text or anything that this man writes has a pretty damn high chance of causing an aneurysm. These texts are not suited for mere mortals. No, 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 no. They are suited for the academic discourse. Just let's open up any project and read the description. Right, let's try this. Most houses are conceptually vertebrate. That is, in addition to their literal necessary condition of structure, they are metaphorically vertebrate. They have a center, usually a hearth or a stair. Their roofs pitch from the center, and their construction exhibits a concern for overall centrality. The center expresses both the functional core and the conceptual unity of the house. In House X, the center is nothing. The vertebrate house is also mimetic. It mirrors man's upright axial condition. In an attempt to produce a conceptual distance between man and object, House X is non-vertebrate. To this extent, it is non-mimetic. There are no exposed linear elements, columns or beams that are covered by solid vertical and horizontal surfaces, and further, two of the major horizontal living surfaces are void. This is a distortion of the modern movement's preferred section, two solid horizontal planes, as well as of the house's traditional mimesis of Anthropocenic man who stands on a solid horizontal surface and dominates the landscape. Don't panic. Don't panic. I'm here to hold your hand and show you only pretty pictures of cool buildings and talk to you slowly in a soothing voice. So, let's talk about two houses this time. House 3 and House 6, both by Peter Eisenman, of course. Both of these houses were built in early 70s in USA and both share the same principle that I absolutely love. Taking two grids, or in other words systems, and overlapping them to find this kind of a third system hidden within this overlap. Do you know those cool shimmering Moirus patterns? Where you slightly kind of rotate one grid on top of another and a cool shimmering pattern emerges, a third pattern? This is similar, except much larger in scale and three-dimensional in its nature. The weird intersection of these systems is what makes the spaces unique, and as a bonus, less predictable, more exciting to work with during the design process. In House 3, the two systems are not just overlaid, but also they're rotated in relationship to one another. This takes this weirdness to completely another level, to its maximum. In House 6, it's much more about the offset rather than the intersect. Immediately you can tell that House 6 is it looks more rational, at least by our standards. But still, just look at these spaces, right? I wish I would have clients like those. And we need to take a few kind of seconds to appreciate this bedroom. Yep, that is a literal hole between the beds. And also, a moment of respect for a photographer who made this arrangement for the photo. I love it. I absolutely love it. Yep. I especially like the chairs. Those are Excellent. But with jokes aside, enough about that. Look at the detailing. Look at the detailing of the ceiling, right? We as architects we neglect the ceiling when we design. That's definitely not the case in this house. Even if an overlap of these two grids cannot be expressed through walls, through columns, or through any positive form, it gets expressed through a negative space, through carving, right, of the object. Or in this case, in the case of the ceiling, it's both the carving and the splitting. This is where you get these very nice, very crisp shadow seams, as we call them. Taking these two simple grids and slapping them together and seeing what kind of interesting and unpredictable moments will be created is such a wonderful way of designing that these houses are simply one of their, I mean, they're up there with my other favorite buildings in the whole world. Oh, and this method of taking two grids, slapping them together, not grids, systems. Let's be clear. Systems. It can be three-dimensional. That is called superimposition. Yeah, I said a fancy word. Currently somewhere out there, Peter Eisenman is smiling without really understanding why. I'll see you in the next one. Later. If you like this kind of content, then consider leaving a like or a comment or subscribing to the channel. All of these things help out tremendously with the almighty YouTube algorithm. And if you really like the content, then in the video description below you'll see a little link to the Patreon page where you can help out the channel financially. Right? But with that being said, now it's done. Now we're done. Bye. Let's not make it awkward. Bye.